Hi, hello, and welcome to Shankar IAS Academy's Daily Current Affairs Analysis. And today's date is 27/12/2025. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also hit on the bell icon if you want to receive instant updates and notifications from us. And let's see the topic of discussion for the day. The first topic of discussion is about the migratory birds and how confluence of rivers, especially in the Gomti region, how it is affected. Second is the social security net and how it's changing with the fluid workforce that's emerging. The rising bear attacks and how climate anomalies are, related to that. And the fourth topic is the manufacturing gap and in comparison to the giants like South Korea and Japan, why India is lag behind. And the fifth topic of the day is the prelims focus. Today's first topic of our day shows that our greed for sand has created yet another ecological alarm. And let's see it point by point and how to decode in the UPSC perspective. Let's move. So the first topic of the day is in relation to the Saryu Gomati rivers confluence near Uttarakhand and how the migratory birds are being affected. So let's see. The first point is that it's a traditional resting point for all the migratory water birds. For generations, these water birds have been coming to this place for nesting and for resting. So now in that particular Saryu Gomati confluence area, we have a lot of illegal mining that's happening and sand extraction that is happening. So now the quality of the habitat is degraded. So the quality of the habitat is degraded. This is the second point. Now the result of this is the migratory birds are stopping their annual journey to this wetland and they're either shifting or they're dispersing. Now this creates an impact. What is the impact? The impact is that there is a loss of biodiversity, there's a loss of biodiversity, and there's an alteration of avian migratory patterns. So earlier the migratory patterns were uniform, but now there's a shift in the avian migratory pattern. Now let's see the location and why they're ecologically important. The first one is, it is located in the Dehradun district of Uttarakhand, and this is in the foothills of the Shivalik range. Now there is a confluence of the river, as we have already mentioned. This confluence, wherever you see that two rivers are colliding, you see that there is a niche point at that particular juncture. So it is very, very important to note that this is a productive niche point. And then this provides food, it provides shelter, it provides resting sites, all three for migratory birds. It lies in the major migration corridor, that is between the Central Asia and Indian subcontinent. So you have three passageways for migratory birds. We'll look at that in the next slide. Now you know that we are a part of the Central Asian flyway and it is globally recognized as a bird migration route. Let's see. See, we have the Central Asian flyway. That is, at this point you see the whole of India is covered here. So this is the Central Asian flyway, and then you have the West Pacific flyway, which is decoded here, the West Pacific flyway, and then in the middle you have the East Asian flyway. Okay, so now our Asian migratory route is the Central Asian Indian flyway. Central Asian Indian flyway. And why these birds are leaving? Now what is happening? So the first point is riverbed excavation. You see that people, the birds come here for feeding and nesting. Now if the riverbed excavation is happening again and again, then this feeding and nesting will be destroyed. That is the first point. The second point is that human activity, when it is surmounting to a large number, then the noise in the human activity will disturb the birds and the birds' behavior as well. So the birds stop coming there. The third one is, if you have some kind of turbidity or a lot of siltation happens there, both of that will degrade the water quality. Then the fourth one, this is the third point. Then the fourth point is that loss of vegetation. That is, when vegetation loses itself, there will be a direct impact on all the insects or the fish or the birds that are dependent on it, and hence the food base for the birds will decline. Then you see that if there are behavioral shift and if there is a niche loss, then your habitat will become fragmented. It will go into groups. Okay, this part is for this particular group, this part is for this particular group, and the habitat fragments, and there's no unified combination of all the animals, plants, species, flora, fauna, birds, everything in one particular place. Then the evidence is that similar bird declines have seen in river stretches of Chambal. This can be a UPSC question, that what are the rivers that have avian migratory species declining. So you can talk about the Saryu Gomti confluence and also the Chambal river. This can also be used as an example in your mains perspective. Now, what are the policy and governance failures? First, you see that there are a lot of environmental judgments that are coming out from the High Court and the Supreme Court. Despite the Uttarakhand High Court saying so many times in regard to the Environmental Protection Act and notifications, their laws are being constantly violated. That is, their enforcement is very weak and ground level monitoring is very, very meager. So, we do not have an integrated river management system. That is, it is very, very dissected. So, you see, rivers are managed sector wise, but it should rather be managed very ecologically. So, this point when you're writing mains can also be a point of concern. You can write concerns as well. Now, you also have regulatory gaps and governance gaps in natural resource management. So, what are the dynamic linkages? Where this news can be quoted in UPSC point of view, both in mains and prelims. First, you can see that in your environment, you will have a chapter called as the ecosystem services, the provisioning, the regulatory, all the ecosystem services that can come in the prelims point of view. Biodiversity laws also in the prelims point of view. Sustainable mining and river ecology, this point can come from the mains point of view. And disaster and climate angle, this can be given as a proper example. Riverbed degradation and flood risk. Again, if there is a question about flooding, you can include the angle of mining and aviation loss as a example point. Then altered river morphology due to extraction. That is, you can give in, if there is a question on change in landforms due to human activity, then you can quote this. Yes, the loss of livelihood, this can be a social angle, and you can even give the economy of people who live there and who have their livelihood there. Then yes, what is the balance between the mining income and the long term ecological damage? That this can be a environment versus sustenance, economical sustenance. This can be an angle. So, you can use this one news a lot of angles, and these are the angles that you can use in both prelims and in mains. Now, let's see what are the constitutional linkages and angles. First, we have already seen that 48A is the state's duty to protect the environment. Article 51AG is to protect the natural heritage. So, both of these are constitutional linkages. And again, international is that there is a Central Asian Flyway Action Plan under the CMS. So, this is a conservation framework. This will come in the preliminary point of view. Or you can even use this as an example wherein you say that is a Central Asian Flyway Action Plan under CMS. So, with this we come to the prelims practice question of the day. With reference to the Central Asian Flyway Action Plan, consider the following statements. It is a multinational conservation framework developed under the Convention on Migratory Species. So, the first point is correct. Now, the second point, it covers migratory water birds using routes between Europe and Africa. No. It does not use between Europe and Africa. We have seen that it is a Central Asian Flyway wherein it comes near India and goes this way. This comes under the Western Pacific Flyway and the Eastern Pacific Flyway. And India plays a lead role and prepared a national action plan for implementation. Yes, this is correct. So, you have statement 2 is wrong, 1 and 3 is right. And so, the answer should be 2 only. Let's check. Yes, the answer is 2 only. With this, we have come to the end of the first topic of the day, and we have to understand why this ecological alarm is significant, and we have seen the dynamic linkages as well. Let's move on to the second topic. So with regard to this topic of the day, the social security net is something that is very, very important for the Indian workforce, because the ever-changing workforce shows its dynamism in ways that we have never imagined. So let's decode what this is about and how it is relevant to the UPSC perspective. So why social security needs reimaging, or why do we have to revisit and change it, is the first context. The first one is the Indian labor market has changed. It's changed faster than its welfare architecture, that we know. Now many of the workers today are either informal, or they're migrant, or they're gig or platform based workers. Now you see a lot of people working in Zomato or Swiggy or Ola or Uber Eats, and you see all of them like constituting a major part of the workforce. Now the existing social systems were designed for the stable, formal, employer based jobs. Now this, as a result, there is a large section of people that are not benefited. That is, the workers remain uncovered or partially covered. These workers remain uncovered in, here it means the social security schemes, or they are uncovered, and the core issue is that the welfare systems are no longer matched between the nature of the work and the security concerns. So this in Indian context, what is social security? That is, you have protection against old age, illness or disability, unemployment and workplace injury. In case you have any of these, this social security will protect you. So now this is, how is it delivered and what is the social security is the next question. That is, you have your PF, Provident Fund, and there is pension for people, and health insurance in case you have to battle with illness, as already stated. And these mechanisms assume something, that is, you have a long-term employment 1, a single employer 2, a fixed workplace 3. Now, with the dynamic and ever-changing nature of our Indian context, works are changing, and all our youngsters want to take a leap. If they jump companies, they at least get a 33. It is seen that they at least get a 33% rise when they jump companies from job to job with experience. So India's workforce is mobile. It's moving. It's fragmented. So this 33% rise shows us that this social security needs reimaging and revisiting. What has changed in the labor market is that there are gig workers. There are gig workers that rise. That is, they do delivery, they do ride hailing, they do platform services. So one is that, and then the contracts are short term. They employ for like 3 months. They are very contractual. So you can see that contractual workers are on the rise. Contractual workers are on the rise. Next is the interstate migrant labor. You see a lot of people from Bihar, or you see a lot of people from Assam working in a lot of restaurants, working in a lot of salons, and you see them on a regular basis. They are interstate migrant workers, and they also need protection. Next is the frequent job switching. That is, there is a concept of multi-apping. That is, in gig economy, if a person works in Swiggy, does not mean he can not work in Ola. So they work in multiple apps, and the frequent job switching is also there. So the multi-apping concept and the multi-income sources concept also is a very big concern. Next is the informality that persists. Even within organized sectors, there is a lot of informality that persists, and certain people are not even included in the payroll as such to get their PF and pension benefits. So today's employment is fluid. It's not rigid. It's very, very fluid, but the welfare is still static. So we need to revisit that again. And what are the gaps? The gaps is that many workers are outside formal registration, as we have already seen, and the portability issues. That is, one person can be from place A, then he might move to place B. So the social security framework must be as strong as to him getting the same amount of benefit, and the benefit is tied to the employer or the state. It's not central, it's tied to the employer or the state. Now the implementation also has challenges. It's not that like people don't want to have a beneficial policy, but it has its own implementation challenges. That is, the labor codes exist, but the spread out is very uneven, and there is an administrative complexity. That is, there are multiple schemes, there are limited awareness, and there is weak enforcement. This leads to exclusion, and the exclusion is not intentional. It's just that the design of, or the policy that we have is in such a way. And then what reimagined social security means is that earlier the employer centric policy making was there. Now we have to make it as a worker centric welfare. This can be used in any form of conclusion or mains perspective, and the portability will be across state and jobs, and there is universal minimum protection for people. Also, it is a state supported model and it is contribution based. What is the role of technology? The role of technology is that there can be digital identification, there can be unified social accounts, and seamless benefit transfer. So with this, we will protect the worker, not the job. So how is this going to be relevant in the UPSC perspective? The first one is in governance in GS2, you have social justice and inclusive growth. In this, you can talk about all the multi-apping concept and how worker-centric policies need to be framed. Next is the cooperative federalism for migrant welfare. We had seen that the interstate migration is high, and when you talk about the interstate migration, you also have to talk about how the policies need to be altered. Next is the labor reforms and the schemes related to this that can be used in GS3, and productivity and workflow stability. This you can talk about the gig workers and contractual workers and how their stability is a form of concern. Next, in social issues, you can talk about the urbanization and migration patterns and how jobs are either mushroomed, and there are people who are overqualified now. Earlier you had underqualified people, but now you have overqualified people for the job that you are actually giving out, and the informal sector vulnerability is also there. Constitution value here is that Article 41 is about right to public assistance. This is important in the prelims point of view, and the welfare expansion comes under the DPSP. Now the way forward is that you have to have a social architecture wherein the social security is portable, it is universal, and there is a simplified code of implementation. And also we have to have a cooperative federalism where there is strong center and state coordination, and technology enabled delivery with accountability. All these are way forwards. Now let's move to the prelims practice question of the day. Which one of the following best captures the core reason why India's existing social security system is considered inadequate for today's workforce? It is primarily designed around stable, employer-based jobs, whereas current employment is informal and mobile. Yes, it lacks constitutional backing, and we just saw the DPSP has a welfare mechanism, and we just saw that there is constitutional backing. It is restricted to agricultural workers. Wrong. It is fully funded by the states without. No, we spoke about the cooperative federalism aspect as well. So the answer should be A. Let's check. Yes, the answer is A. With this, we come to the end of this topic, and let's move to the next topic of the day. In today's context, climate change is affecting humans in yet another way. That is, the human and wildlife conflict is also increasing because of climate change. Let's decode why this happens, how this happens, and how important this is in the UPSC perspective. So what is the news? The news is that there is a high increase in the bear and human conflict, and that's reported across India, Japan, and Canada. In India specifically, it's in the Uttarakhand, Kashmir, and Himalaya region. Now, why is this happening and what happened is the next context. That is, wildlife scientists are saying this, as the climate anomalies, that is the change in climate that is happening has an impact over this, and there's also a lot of food stress that is induced on a lot of animals, and their habitat is intruded. Now there is a key concept called as the hyperphagia. What is the hyperphagia? That is, we all know that bears go to sleep, that is they sleep for a prolonged period of time to withstand weather, and that concept is called as the concept of hibernation. So in their pre-hibernation phase, they eat a lot and they forage intensively to build their fat reserves. Now once their fat reserves are built, they go into the hibernation phase. Now climate change has intensified the hyperphagia, that is they forage for food so much that they become very, very aggressive, and this aggressive nature is in turn affecting all the humans, and it is increasing the human wildlife conflict. Now, what are the climate related disruptions? First is the erratic monsoon. You see that the monsoon is very, very erratic. That is, if the monsoon is erratic, we have delayed seed and fruits maturation, and the winters are shortened, or their hibernation is disrupted because the winters are shortened, and the main reason bears go into hibernation is because they want short winters. And they want to actually withstand that by sleeping. Now there are also inconsistent availability of nuts or berries and seeds that these bears consume. As a result, the bear shifts from forest food to livestock or crops or garbage. So it conditions itself to adapt to what food is available. Now in Uttarakhand in 2025, we have seen that there are 7 human deaths. This is the highest since the state formation from 2000, and there are 70 plus injuries that has happened. And in Kashmir, the NGO Wildlife has reported a SOS service, and it is seen that there is about 2,500 plus bear attacks from 2000 to 2020, and 95% approximately has resulted in human injuries. So the species conservation status is that Asiatic black bear is in vulnerable status, and it typically mauls the person. It gives a hug and it mauls the person rather than killing, and the increased livestock attacks indicate that there is a lot of nutritional stress that the bear is undergoing, and we also saw how its hibernation status is also affected. Now there are a lot of anthropogenic factors as well, that is with the expansion of roads, tourism corridors and human settlements near forest, there is a lot of distress over the bears. So with a lot of distress that the bear is facing, we also have that that food inequality, and when bears see garbage, they go and start conditioning themselves, that is the food conditioning, and they eat the garbage waste. So that the waste management is also very poor. And in rural villages of Japan, there is wildlife encroachment, that is the rural villages, people are actually moving out, they are depopulating their own zone because bears are coming in and they have started living in that village area. That is also very, very important to understand. Now what are the management and mitigation measures? First is that AI based intrusion detection systems have come in. AI has come here as well, and there are drones and camera traps to identify what is happening, and there is a dedicated forest helpline, that is number 1926 in Uttarakhand. And also there is shooting the bear should be a last resort. It should not be the first option. It should not be the routine. So this is also a caution factor, and we have to keep that in mind. Next is the scientific gaps, that is there is no estimate, a consolidated estimate of the Asiatic black bear population, and it's very, very limited in a sense that there is radio telemetric data, and the field studies on wildlife hibernation behavior also needs to be understood deeply to identify how climate anomalies actually contribute to this particular raging behavior of the bears. So this hampers the long term mitigation planning or conflict that's given. And the prelims practice question of the day is, with reference to rising bear human conflicts in India and globally, consider the following statements. Climate induced disruption of forest, food, cyclones can intensify hyperphagia. Yes. In bears, increasing likelihood of human encounters. Yes. The Asiatic black bear is, what is it? It is classified as vulnerable by the IUCN due to rising conflict related mortality. So where are option 2 present? In C it's present, in D it's present, in B it's present. So all the options should be negated and the answer should be 1 only. The answer should be A. Let's check. Yes, the answer is 1 only. With this we have come to the end of this topic and we are going to the main topic of the day. So the next topic of the day is about the manufacturing sector and how it has a gap and why India has lagged behind a lot of countries, and we are going to decode about that. And we all know that the manufacturing sector has contributed a lot to India's GDP. And let's look at the statistics. So the share in GDP is about 17% and the real GDP growth is about 6.5%, that is projected. And in GVA it is about 4.26%. The IIP manufacturing is about 1.8%, and the manufacturing export is about 184.13 billion. This is from April to August 2025. And the FDI in manufacturing is about 19.04 billion. Now you have seen a lot of statistics and you will see how it is relevant in the coming slides. See, there are a lot of subsectors in manufacturing. First, we talk about the electronic sector. There's a flagship success, that is the production is increased up to 6 times in 11 years. And India has the second largest manufacturing hub of electronics, that is globally. And in the automotive sector, you understand that it contributes to about 7.1% of the GDP and 49% of manufacturing the GDP. In the pharmaceuticals, India are known as the pharmacy of the world. That is, we are third globally and we have shifted to a 2.2280 crore, that is 2,280 crore trade surplus under the PLIs. And there is also basic metals and engineering, wherein among the top IIP contributors, basic metal and their export growth is about 6.6%, that is late in 2025. So now we have so much going on, but why are we not on par with the East Asian giants like China or South Korea, and what is the reason? The first one is we have a stagnant manufacturing, that is India's manufacturing share remains about 16 to 17% of the GVA in the last decade, and China has about 32%, that is you compare the 32% with the 16%, India is actually lagging, and South Korea stays above like 25%. And there are high labor costs and productivity, that is the Dutch disease. See, what is the Dutch disease? The Dutch disease is basically an economic phenomenon wherein the rising public sector wages are pushed up and the economy-wide wages are compared, and the wage growth is actually seen in a context wherein there is high labor cost but the productivity is actually declined. That is where this Dutch disease concept comes in, and the wage growth has outpaced productivity, basically the same explanation. And the 7th Pay Commission has showcased how the raised costs, the competitive market is hurt because of this manufacturing ideology, and they want to compete and be the best. That has hurt actually in regard to the cost and benefit ratio. In the service sector domination, that is service sectors contribute to about 53% of the GDP, and there is entry level wage growth, and it has about a lot of increasing inequality. Now there is also a lot of technological stagnation. You see, with the boom of AI, a lot of people do not understand how AI actually works, and they're not able to technologically upgrade themselves. So even with the abundant labor, they become very, very stagnant. Now there is also weak R&D investment, and 0.64% of the GDP is also showcased in this angle. And there's also labor pressure, that is the low labor pressure has failed to do something very, very important. That is, it does not induce innovation unlike South Korea, but South Korea is known for its innovation. So we need to innovate more. And there's trade competitiveness and real exchange rate. That is, when there is high domestic prices, the real exchange rate also increases. So when the real exchange rate also increases, the export competitiveness is hurt and it is declined. And the RBI data also shows that India's real exchange rate is often overvalued, and Vietnam and Thailand actually have an increasing edge over there, and Indian manufacturing exports are costlier, but the imports are actually cheaper. Now let's see the primary driver, that is Indian model have high skilled services. They are in the IT sector, they are placed at first, but in mass manufacturing the East Asian models have a higher ground. And wage strategy, the competitive wages are like incentive based, they are linked to productivity. Here we have public sector job premium, and there is a rapid shift to labor saving technology. Here we have a reliance for cheap and informal labor. Here it is broadly based to reduce poverty. Here there is a lot of missing middle rungs, that is there's a high inequality that's prevalent. Now the government initiatives are that we have the PLI scheme, wherein about 14 sectors we have spent about 1.97 crore rupees, and we have about 1.76 crore rupees investment and 12 lakh jobs that are generated as of March 2025. And also we have the National Manufacturing Mission, which talks about an integrated roadmap for policies with which we can focus on green manufacturing. That is, we want sustainability, and the EV batteries, solar PVs all play a major role, and this is mentioned in the budget of 2025 and 2026. Now the PM Mitra Park, this is a textile focused integrated park wherein we have a plug and play infrastructure that will boost large scale employment, and this will raise about our GDP manufacturing to 25% in 2030. Earlier we saw that it was about 16 to 17%. Now this will increase to 25%. And now we come to the mains practice question of the day. Despite rapid economic growth, in India's manufacturing sector has underperformed compared to East Asian economies like China and South Korea. Critically examine the structural, policy-induced and institutional factors responsible for lagging performance of manufacturing in India. Please send us across your answer copy so that we can aid you better in our preparation and understand and help you out. And please do comment about the mains question as well. With this, we move to the prelims focus for the day. Now we have come to the prelims focus of the day, and the first topic is the Industrial Park Rating System, IPRS. Let's see what it is. IPRS is a comprehensive framework wherein they assess the performance and quality of all the industrial parks that are present and business districts in India. So the classification of business district and the performance of the industrial park is justified based on this, and this is assessed based on the 4 assessment pillars, which we'll look into at the next slide. And now this industrial park rating system will provide insights to investors. They can find out which park has how much performance, and the developers there, and how the policymakers have helped this. You can gain insights on all this, and it also encourages that the park authorities improve their services and their infrastructure, and they can assess what is going wrong and what is going right in that particular point. Now the 4 assessment pillars of the system are: first, internal infrastructure utility. First one, the infrastructure and the utility present. The pillar 2 is that external infrastructure and connectivity. First is internal infrastructure, second is external infrastructure. Here utility, here connectivity. Then business support services and environment and safety. These are the 4 support pillars. Next is the flagship national conclave on AI evolution. See, this was held at New Delhi in the Dr. Ambedkar International Center. This was organized by the university, that is the Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, and All India Council for Technical Education, and also the Outlook magazine. So there were 3 organizations involved in this organizing. Then the aim is to build a scalable AI enabled learning. That is, when you go for higher education and with increasing AI evolution, you need a proper scalable learning that has to happen. So this is the aim. So you have seen where it is held at, who organizes it, and the aim of this. Next is the National Consumer Day. This is celebrated in 24th December every year. And why is it commemorated? It is commemorated because this was the day the Consumer Protection Act of 1986 came into accord, and the President's assent was received, and a comprehensive set of rights was given for the consumers. The theme of 2025 is efficient and speedy disposal through digital justice. So now this is reflecting one important point, that is we have moved from paper to a digital outlook, and this is very, very important, and the timely consumer grievance redressal also is highlighted here. What is the aim? The aim is to signify the rights of the consumers and their consumer protection. So now the prelims practice question of the day. With reference to the Central Consumer Protection Authority, consider the following. The CCPA can initiate action suo motu or directions of the central government. Yes. The CCPA has jurisdiction over e-commerce platforms, but not over offline service providers. This is wrong. Just because it's digital does not mean it does not have a takeover offline service providers. So this is wrong. And the power to adjudicate individual consumer disputes lie within Consumer Disputes Redressal Commissions, not with the CCPA. Yes, correct. So which of the following statement is correct? You have two here. This must be wrong, this must be wrong, and the answer should be 1 and 3 only. The answer should be C. So now let's check. Yes, the answer is C. With this, we have come to the end of the prelims focus for the day. Thank you for watching our video. We hope you liked it. Please like, comment, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and hit on the bell icon if you want to receive instant updates and notifications. Thank you.